Hello and welcome to Tête-à-Tête, France 24th flagship interview program. And our guest today is the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan. Thank you very much for being with us.
It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I want to begin with Ukraine. You were recently there. A few months ago, the ICC issued arrest warrants against President Vladimir Putin, the Commissioner for Children's Rights, for the deportation, the unlawful deportation and transfer of children from Ukraine to Russia. Since then, have you been able to gather more evidence and maybe for other crimes than this one?
Well, in fact, I was there just a couple of weeks ago. I met President Zelensky. We opened our office officially with the Prosecutor General of Ukraine in Kyiv. We had an event here in New York with several First Ladies, including First Lady Zelenska, the President of Estonia, and many foreign ministers. So investigations are ongoing. There's such a wide spectrum of crimes that appear to have been committed and seem to be committed every day, that we are devoting resources to make sure we do justice to our mandate.
Right. I mean, we've seen especially strikes against civilian infrastructure. I imagine this is one area particularly that you're looking at.
Well, there's many, in fact. Yes, you're right. There's crimes that seem to have been committed regarding civilian infrastructure, regarding children, of course. There's warrants that have been issued by the ICC judges. There's allegations regarding torture, regarding prisoners of war, regarding filtration camps. I mean, there's no shortage. What we're trying to do is use our scarce resources effectively by focusing, looking at the incriminating evidence, looking at the exonerating evidence, and if the evidence reaches the threshold required, we will engage our independent judges who will scrutinize the evidence that we present. But we're working hard, and I think the victims, the survivors and civilians deserve no less.
Right. The problem is that you're working with only one side because you're banned from entry to Russia. I imagine the Russian officials are not talking to you or your office.
No, you're right. I've been banned, and at the same time, there's an arrest warrant that the Russian Federation has issued against myself and also judges that issued the warrants. But the point is, I have engaged with the Russian Federation. Are
they responding?
No, not at all. But I will continue. Our obligation is to get to the truth, and it's for the parties concerned. It's for the individuals concerned. Do they wish to engage with an independent, impartial prosecutor, with an independent, impartial, objective court? And we're making sure that we're trying to double-check anything we receive to make sure we get to the truth.
Right. I want to turn to Sudan. 2 months ago, you opened a fresh investigation into what's happening in the Darfur region, because this is where you have jurisdiction for already more than a decade. Are you able to gather more evidence? Tell us what you found.
Well, since I became prosecutor 2 years ago, my very first mission, within a couple of months of becoming prosecutor, was to Khartoum. And I signed an agreement with the then government. The Prime Minister then was civilian, Hamdok, but also I met the chair of the Sovereignty Council, General al-Burhan, and many promises were made. What we see is the result of when justice is ignored or it is trampled upon and it is put into the shadows, because now we have a responsibility not only to look at the events since 2005, but this new spike of violence that happened since April and the stories of misery that we are hearing from Darfur, the targeted attacks, it seems, against the Maslit and other communities, the allegations against both the SAF of General al-Burhan, but also the RSF of General Hemeti, are very sobering. And so we have to make sure we achieve some modicum of justice, and it's a singular moment. I just saw General al-Burhan this week, and I told him that a lot of promises have been made. I hear a lot of words about justice, but there's been not one scrap of paper that has been given to us, not one document, not one intercept, not one witness of truth that has come to us from either General Hemeti's side or General al-Burhan's side. And so not only will we continue our independent legal obligation, but the moral obligation is something they should also ponder over. But we are determined to make sure that we get to the truth and that the people in Sudan, the people in Darfur, the refugees in Chad, need to realize that decisions that we make, the promises we make here in New York or the promises that have been made by the Rome Statute result in an impact, that we do our job and we take their lives seriously. They're not too small, they're not too powerless, they're not invisible to the international community, and we actually do what we can do to make sure the law is applied more effectively, and I think that's something I'm committed to doing.
Right. When you see General al-Burhan, I mean, what does he tell you? Yes, we'll provide evidence. Please come to Sudan. Or what is he offering?
Well, I told him that I'm going to go, God willing, to Chad this year, but I'm willing to even go to Sudan. He said he's open to that, so we'll wait and see, does that materialize? But, you know, a lot of promises are made that, yes, there needs to be justice, there has to be accountability, but this is why I refer to the fact that we're going to be judged not only by the ICC, we're going to be judged by history. Collectively, have we lived up to our moral responsibility as well as our legal responsibility to care for people that look at us, whether it's the ICC or whether it's General Burhan or General Hemeti, these power structures, to care even a little bit for the misery that they're facing, the tears that they're shedding, the blood that is being spilt, because very often the most marginalized groups are trampled upon by the power games, and this is absolutely immoral. And I think in terms of the legal responsibility, we're going to make sure that if there are crimes, we have the evidence to prove that in court.
Are you going to be able to look into the other regions of Sudan? You only have jurisdiction on Darfur. You told me a couple of weeks ago that this was something that you were looking at, possibly having jurisdiction over crimes committed outside Darfur.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that. There's a lot of legal discussion. What we clearly have jurisdiction for is events in Darfur today. But anybody who plans, who aids, who abets, who assists those crimes in Darfur, whether they're in Khartoum, whether they're in third countries, should realize they can be held responsible either as direct perpetrators or as part of a joint enterprise, or in terms of accessorial liability for aiding, abetting, or assisting the commission of crime. So I'm not going to close any doors. People should realize the law may not be as powerful or as strong as we want, but it's not impotent and weak either. And we have to then build those partnerships so we get the truth, we get solid evidence, because I don't move, and I'm not allowed to move, and nor will I move, based upon speculation or gossip or generalities. We need hard evidence, and everybody has a responsibility. The neighboring countries, the European Union states, France, of course, the United Kingdom, the United States. We need to make sure we get the evidence so that our words don't seem like lies. The words that are made in the Security Council, the promises that have been made to the people of Sudan since 2005 ring hollow, and I feel ashamed that we haven't done a better job collectively as the international community for the last 20 years. And what we're seeing now is the result of that, this climate of impunity. And so we've got to find ways to finally step up and deliver.
I want to turn to Palestine. The probe was opened by your predecessor in 2021. In March, you pledged that you would go this year to Palestine. Human rights groups, activists there are complaining that you're not doing enough, that you're going through the motions and not really investigating this. Are you going to Palestine within the next 3 months? And what's your response to this criticism?
Well, I'm not going to reveal operational issues, but before
you said
March,
you would go before the end of the year.
In December, absolutely. Last December, I said one of my objectives for 2023 is to go to Palestine. I hope I'll report in December. Has that been achieved or not? It's an important situation. I've just appointed a new head, senior lawyer, to head the Palestine investigation. I've applied more resources to the Palestine situation. We've requested more resources as well.
So you're saying, I'm working on this, contrary to the
I don't give up easily, and I have a responsibility to try to work to deliver on my mandate, and one of those situations is Palestine.
Just as a conclusion, you've hinted at that. Are you getting enough political, financial support, or are most of the countries, even the powerful, the rich ones, only paying lip service to international justice, say, yes, we support the ICC, but when it comes to really supporting it in concrete ways, it's not there?
It's a combination. I think there's a lot of wonderful words that have been spoken in general terms about the rule of law and justice and the rules-based system. It comes against sometimes inertia and internal concerns about sharing information, whether it's intelligence information, whether it's real cooperation. That's an area that can be significantly improved. In terms of funding, there's been some contributions, but nowhere near enough to make sure that we work effectively and to show that we're not only concerned with Ukraine, that the lives of children and women and men, boys and girls for the Rohingya or Sudan or Libya or the DRC matter sufficiently. And so in December, there'll be an important meeting here in New York of the Assembly of State Parties. There will be discussions on the budget. We have never got the budget we asked for. I think this is a singular moment in which France, of course, is, I think, the third biggest or the fourth biggest funder. Japan is the first. Germany is the second. The United Kingdom, I think, is the third, and France the fourth. But France and UK are close. Let's compete in good things. Let's try and get some additional resources, because it's even bigger than the ICC. When people around the world hear the promises of heads of government, heads of state and foreign ministers, and then they put that against the application of justice around the world, they're losing confidence. They don't care whether it's the UN or the ICC or the AU or the EU. We need the tools to do the job. I think we're reforming ourselves. I've refocused the priorities of the office. I'm trying to deliver, not just in Ukraine, but in Libya and in so many parts of the world. But the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We need a significant increase. And what I'm talking about significant, the budget I've requested, the increase, is less than 13 million. It's 12.94 million. And if you compare that with the billions we're giving in arms around the world, in the cost of refugee crisis, what Bangladesh is going through, or what's happening in Ukraine or Libya, it's actually small money. But even that request becomes not only the begging bowl. I'm willing to humble ourselves and ask and make the case, but it's met with a lack of resources, and we need help.
Karim Khan, I want to thank you very much, and I want to thank you all for watching this show. Thank you very much. Stay tuned for more news.